Hello everybody, welcome to Introduction to Business Analytics using Excel, Lesson 3. Today's topic is Power Query. After you download the files into your local directory, you will see two files. One is after and before. Before is an empty file. Basically, this is where you're going to be doing the work. As you follow the video, this is where you actually do the exercises. And after is a file. This is the after file that you can review all the work that's done and get the homework. Here's the homework. Click on this tab before you begin. For the after file to work, you'll need to follow this series of instructions. Remember the local directory where you deploy the files. Copy paste it. Copy it so that you have it remembered. Then go to the data, quotes and connections, and you will see a list of queries here. Double click on the first query and go to Manage Parameters. Double click on this Manage Parameters and you will see the parameter named local path. Put the path that you copied into this value, current value, and click OK. Then you can close this query manager and say keep. So now that's done, make sure everything works. Click on refresh all. And if everything working correctly, you will see all the data refreshed correctly. Basically, Power Query is set to pick data from certain file, from certain directory, so we need to reset that directory after you download these files into a different directory in your PC. Today we'll be working with the Northwind Traders database. In this database, we have information about orders. Each order contains multiple order details. Each order detail is a record of sale of a product, quantity of a product, the unit price of the product. Orders are placed by employees for certain customers. Information is presented to us as a number of CSV files. Each CSV file contains information about one of the tables: categories, customers, employees, order details, orders, products, and shippers. You can look inside the file using a notepad, and you will see that data is just represented in a comma delimited format. Headers. These are headers of the table, separated by comma, and this is the data, separated by comma. Order details somehow got polluted and format is broken. Instead of comma separator, the data came to us with a dash separator. Let's use Power Query to import our first data. We go to the Data tab. Here you will see the Power Query controls. So you go Get Data, and we're going to import the data from CSV file. You'll go to Northwind database, and we're going to import order details. We are given the data to preview, and we're going to click Transform Data. Power Query open as Power Query Editor. Here we will start changing data, so transforming data. We extracted data from CSV file. Now we're going through the transformations. The first thing that we want to transform here is we want to split the column into multiple columns. To split this column into multiple columns, we will go and click Split. It will ask us what kind of split do we want to do. We will say by delimiter. Here we'll have an option of what kind of delimiter to put, which are common delimiters, comma, equal sign, semicolon, tab. In our case, it's a custom. I'm going to put dash. So we'll say for each occurrence of the delimiter, and click OK. What we just saw is that Power Query split the column into multiple columns. Now what we will see is that the headers of the columns, they have some names that Power Query gave it. We want to promote this first row to be the header names. We'll click Use First Row as Headers and say Use First Row as Headers. Next step is we're going to review the columns and assign data types. By default, Power Query figured out which data types we have based on data we have in our columns. For order ID, it picked a decimal. You see the whole number, 1, 2, 3, which is correct. Product ID is also a number. Unit price, it picked a decimal number, but we want to change it to currency. Click here, replace current. I'll explain what it is. Then quantity is okay to be a whole number. Discount, let's make it a %. So now we see the data in the correct data types. Data types will enforce what type of data we can have in the columns. If we would have, for example, a text in the number column, Power Query will show us error when we'll try to import. So data being cleaned and being more restricted than you could do in Excel. Let's investigate what are the query settings. What is a query? So query is basically name of the process that transforms our data from CSV file into Excel, imports data into Excel. And this process has steps. You can retrace the steps we did So here's our original step. We read data from the source. You can see the file name. You can see the actual source, the details of the step. And it's written in a language called M language. So we can see that we read context from this file. Our delimiter was comma. There was encoding information. Then the next step was a split. Then after we did the split, we changed the data types. Actually, this change of data type was generated by Power Query automatically, which really don't need to be here. Then we promoted headers. And after that was achieved, we changed data type again to the data types we needed. The M language that's written, you can see each step of the M language in this formula bar. If you want to see the whole M language code, you go to Advanced Editor. Advanced Editor will show you full M language code that we have. In this class, we're not going to go into details of M language. M language is designed to be generated by us just using Power Query Editor, but it really helps to understand because you can easily sometimes make it easier, make it a lot more efficient to make manual changes to that M language. So we can say that we can see each step is a separate line, and we can see that first we get this, we execute this first step, and we got back name source. Then we took this source and sent it through the second step, which is called split by column by delimiter. Result of second step was served to the third step, which is called change type. Result of change type was sent to next step, which is called promote headers. And the result of promote headers was sent to the transform column types. And this is the last step, which is change type 1. And this is where we stop. This is what the result of the transformation is so far. We can change names of those steps. Let's say we can change types to currency, some kind of custom name, and we can see that now our step is renamed. Next step, let's add extra column to our order details. We have unit price, we have quantity and percent discount, but we don't have amount sold. Let's add a column called price before discount. So we're gonna add custom column. Let's call it price before this I would say amount before discount. And amount before discount is equal to quantity times unit price, and click OK. Let's set the data type for this column as a currency. So we just created new column that we did not have in our data. Let's add one more column, which is amount after discount. We're going to add conditional column. If discount equal to 0, then the value will be, select the column, amount before discount. Else, For now, let's just put the value of discount. This is incorrect formula, of course. We need to change it to 1 minus discount times amount before discount. Now values look right. 1,484, 1,261. So now let's rename this column to amount and change the data type to currency. Next step is to actually load the query. We say close and load. Say close and load. Okay, let's start importing our customers. Go data, get data from file, customers, transform. You can see that Power Query added change type. We don't need this step. What we want to do is to use first row as headers. And now let's make sure the data types are good. This is string, 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 and string. So it looks good. Close and load too. Let's also put in the table. And say OK. Next step, let's import our orders. Let's import our orders. So I'm going to click, go to next worksheet, go data, get data from file. As you can see, Power Query allows us to import data from different sources, from Azure, from databases, from different file formats. Well, we're going to import from CSV. So let's get order data. We got a preview. It looks good. Let's do transform. Let's review the columns. Order ID, customer ID, employee ID, order date, required date, and also let's make sure we have the right data types. Order ID is a number, customer ID is alphanumeric, is a number, date looks good, order date good, ship date also good, shipped ID, and freight, I guess how much it cost us to ship. Okay, let's leave it the way it is. Let's use the file, close and load, and it loaded to us into a table. So now we have order details in orders. Let's explore our data. In our diagram, you can see that order has one-to-many relationship to order details. It means for each order we may have multiple order details. Let's look at our examples. Let's pick this first order with ID 10248. So we will filter out this ID. Let's look at all the order details for this particular order ID. And you see multiple order details. So what we are saying is that there is a relationship between this order, 10248, and these three order details. What we want to do is to join this data by order ID. So for each order details that we have, we're going to add more columns that will tell us information from the order table. So for example, this row will have more information with related order ID. We'll have information about employee ID, order date, required date, ship date, and so on and so forth. This operation is called merging. So let's try to do a merge. Let's try to do the merge. We select the order details, query, go to query and click merge. So the first query we're going to merge is order details, and second orders. We need to pick which column we're merging by. So the common column in both tables is order ID. So for each order ID in order details, we're going to attach data from order with the same order ID from an order. The type of merge, we're going to pick inner, only matching rows, meaning that both IDs must be present for our result to be retrieved. Let's click OK. Now, on the left, we have columns from order detail. On the right, we're going to pick the columns we want to be attached to our result set. We're going to skip order ID because we already have order ID. They are going to be the same, both on orders and order detail. Use original prefix. We don't need original prefix, and say OK. So now we have a joint query. So now close and load to. Let's load it to pivot table to a table and click OK. For now, our merge query contains information about order detail and orders. Let's add customer information to it. We see customer ID that came from order. We want to attach data from our customer. So we come here and say, okay, let's edit our query and say merge queries. So the first query we're going to use merge, and second we'll pick customers. We're going to merge by customer ID. So we're going to pick customer information with this customer ID based on customer ID in our merge query. We're going to say we're going to pick the inner merge and click OK. Now we're going to pick which columns we want to pick. Let's skip customer ID. We'll pick company name, contact name, city, country. We'll not use original prefixes and say OK. So now we have a query that merges information from three tables: order detail, order, and the customer. Do close and load so you can see it. So as you can see, we have more information. And next we will merge information about products. Okay, next we're gonna open the same merge query again. Go to merge queries, and here pick products. We're going to merge by product ID, select inner, and click OK. Now, which columns we want to pick? Product name, all but product ID, since we already have product ID that's coming from our orders. Do not use original column prefix, click OK. And close and load. I've repeated this process for products, employees, and shippers. And now I'm going to build our first pivot table. The merge query put data into the table. So we want to have another query that we will use to put data into a pivot table. So since we're going to reuse the same logic, all we have to do is click and create a reference. Reference is just basically we'll use the same query as we already have. So I click on this and say, okay, close and load to. I'm going to load to pivot table report. So let's build a pivot table. We want to have a customer, company name. This gives us list of customers. And sum of amounts. We can also put order date as columns. So we can break it into quarters, break it into years. Right click, and number format, currency, sort, largest to smallest. What we just built is the first pivot table that we get from the merged query. If we want to, if data will change, underlying files will change, all we have to do is refresh pivot table. When we refresh pivot table, it will refresh all the queries and provides us with the latest data in a pivot table. Let's build another pivot table. So we're going to create another reference from the merge. Create reference. File can close and load to. Pivot table. We're going to pick a product. As a row, group by product. We'll put employee name, pivot employee name, and we'll calculate the amount as aggregate. So now we have two pivots. One is company and quarters, company name, which is our customers, and sale by year. And now on another one, we can see employees sales of products. Both of these pivot tables come from the same queries. They built on top of merge queries that are referenced by main merge query. So merge2 reference merge, and merge is a merge of the data we got from our CSV files. If we will refresh the data in the pivot table, it will refresh all the queries and give us up-to-date data. Let's build another pivot table. So we're going to create another reference from the merge. Create reference. File can close and load to. Pivot table. We're going to pick product. As a row, group by product. We'll put employee name, pivot employee name, and we'll calculate the amount as aggregate. So now we have two pivots. One is company and quarters, company name, which is our customers, and sale by year. And now on another one, we can see employees, sales of products. Both of these pivot tables come from the same queries. They built on top of merge queries that are referenced by main merge query. So merge2 reference merge, and merge is a merge of the data we got from our CSV files. If we will refresh the data in the pivot table, it will refresh all the queries and give us up-to-date data. Okay, for homework, you will use the AdventureWorks database. You'll need to investigate these CSV files. You'll need to build the following queries for sales, salesperson, product, merge data in, and then build the pivot table that shows us the amounts, the employees, product names, and employee sales from the AdventureWorks database.